of them that are in there. And then Tracy, you have 3. Those are your babies there.
What's a victory?
A victory, that's what I call the rare and heritage breed chickens I sell, victory chickens. So that's just what I call it.
How old are these chicks?
These are 4 days old. The meaties they just arrived, what is today? Saturday? Yesterday. And these are a week and a half. There's about 5 in there that are 2 weeks old. This is so I don't drive too far into the garage.
Yeah.
We all do that.
If I do
Yeah.
that.
That's a good idea for brooders, putting them on bricks and those.
Yeah, so I stick the bricks and I have like extra tiles and stuff that I stick the feeder and the waterers on, and I try to elevate them a little bit so they're not constantly scratching directly into the water and into the feeders. But I pay mind to how high the chicks can naturally reach food. So as they get bigger, I raise it up just a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. I used to use 2x4s, and I found out they just get soiled so quickly. So now I use little bricks and just extra tiles from some work I had done in the house. I find that these, the metal troughs are really great too, because they're sanitary. I can clean them very quickly. They reflect the heat back onto the chickens, and they also reflect light to the chickens. So they have this sort of a quick introduction to natural daylight. They're also pretty great size. The deeper ones, the victory chickens, the heritage breed chickens, are apt to want to fly sooner. So you'll see I have one little roost post in there. I don't know if anybody's sitting right underneath the light. Sometimes they get up there and they put their wings out and sit right underneath the light and sunbathe. But they'll start flying at less than a week old. They'll start jumping onto that roost in less than a week old. So I'll stick a couple of more roosts in there as they get a little bit older. But I just put one in there for now. These folks, excuse me, from what I understand, are not going to be big flyers. But if they do tend to be big flyers, I'll just take another dowel and cut it. And I just cut it so I have to sort of force it in and it holds itself up. I keep the chickens and the brooders for 4 weeks. They'll grow very quickly. So what may end up happening is I add a 3rd brooder and I split the meaties into 2 groups. What will happen is the victory chickens who are in this brooder now, all the chickens in the tin shed are sold and will be delivered to Dorsey, and I don't know, whenever we decide to do it. And I will move the victory chickens into the tin shed, and I'll just block the opening that goes out to the run, and then I'll open that up once they're about 6 weeks old. Because I don't want them to go out in the run and get stuck outside before they're completely feathered out, because they could die of cold. So I'll put heat lamps in there with them, and I'll run the heat lamps to about this high off the floor. And
do you have thermostats, or how do you really?
I don't have thermostats. No, I have a thermometer that I use on the porch to see how hot it is. I stick it in there, and I'll put the heat lamp at a height, and I'll test it for about 4 or 5 hours after. And if it's a good heat, I don't leave it in there.
And you're looking for 90 or
about
something?
90. Yeah. 90 degrees. Yeah.
45.
And as they get
Tell by their
older,
body language.
Yeah, and where they are.
Yeah.
yeah,
You
and
can tell
you'll
by the way
see
the chicks are acting.
yeah,
they
they'll
want
spread
they're
out.
colder.
If they're too cold, they'll be all real.
Right.
Yeah,
More than
these
that.
guys love to huddle, big huddlers. But yeah, and then I've also got places that are cooler in. I keep the lamp either in the center or to one side. I never try not to put the lamp over the water because you want the water to stay cool. But over the feed is fine. And they're probably huddling right now because there's lots of gigantic creatures looking at them. But
The meaty eaters.
yeah. And you see I put a larger feeder in with them, although they, up to this moment, have not eaten any more than the victory chickens have. That's another thing I'm watching. I'm like, are these folks going to eat more than those folks? So far, no. So we'll see what happens down the line. But the other thing about raising baby chicks is sometimes when they sleep, they look like they're dead.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
they just fall over in any position. And when I first was, I'm like, oh my god, I've killed them all. And then you open the top and they like run around going, you know. So, but for a while, I every time I'd come out, I'd be like, wake up. Another heart attack. I would wake them up every single time just to make sure that they weren't dead. But now I know they just like they will literally like all of a sudden fall over, and it's just because they tire themselves out until they go to sleep, and then they'll all be active together, and they just sort of do their own thing.
I think you mentioned, but how old do they have to be till they can go out, like outside in the...
This time of year, I'm not going to put, well, I'll put those girls in the tin shed with heat lamps, probably at 5 weeks, because I want them to be feathered out. This time of year, because once I put those girls out, I'm going to be splitting the meaty chickens into 2 or 3 brooders so that they have plenty of room, but I don't want to put them out until they're about 5 weeks because they won't be feathered out enough.
So 5 or 6 weeks?
I think at 5 weeks is what I'll do. And what I'll end up doing is with that chicken tractor that I have out there, I'll put heat lamps in that too. And that might let me put them out a little bit over 4 weeks. Yeah. But if I can't keep it warm enough, I'll keep them in here. So...
In the summertime, you could have put them out from
3
day
weeks,
one,
yeah.
almost. Yeah, it was so hot.
But this time of year, and especially because it's not so much the cold here, but it's the wet cold that affects them. So, and when we get those super icy, sleety days, that's when you really have to watch out for your chickens. Oh, I did not talk about winterizing the coop, and I wanted to do that. In this coop here, I don't really have to worry about it because they're coming indoors. But what I do with those, with the outside coop, is let's just all go straight out, and I'll show you how it works.